Hey guys, it's your boy Easy again. Welcome to my garage. In today's video, I'm going to be measuring and setting the chain free play for my drive chain. I'm going to be doing this on my Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 motorcycle, but the procedure for measuring and setting the chain slack or the chain free play is going to be pretty much the same for any chain driven motorcycle. Before we get started, hit the subscribe button, and at the end of the video, if you like it, hit the like button and share it with your friends. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so to measure chain slack, all you're going to need is a ruler, and the reason why you want to set the proper chain tension is to increase the lifespan of your chain as well as of your sprockets. So if your chain is too loose, for example, you're going to get chain slippage. It's going to wear out your chain faster, and it's going to wear out your sprocket teeth a lot faster as well. And obviously you don't want the chain too tight. You're going to want to measure this and set the correct tension or the slack periodically. Where do you measure and what the slack is going to be dependent on your motorcycle, so refer to your owner's manual to check in which position do you measure the chain slack and what the correct chain slack should be. So for the Himalayan 450, you're going to want to measure the chain slack right here. You see this band? It should be right underneath the passenger foot peg. And the way you measure your chain slack is by obviously placing the ruler here, pushing the chain up as much as you can, and recording that value on the ruler, and then pushing the chain down as much as you can, and then measuring that value on the ruler. And then the difference between those two values is going to be a chain slack. You can use the top of the chain or the bottom of the chain as a reference. I like using the bottom of the chain, but it's up to you. And for the Himalayan 450 motorcycle, that chain slack should be in the range of 35 to 40 millimeters. You're going to want to measure this slack in different locations. So measure the chain slack first in one location, right? So say for example this is 37 millimeters. Then rotate your tire or your wheel 90 degrees. Take a measurement again. Rotate it another 90 degrees. Take a measurement again, and then rotate it a final 90 degrees. And take your measurement. So you'll have 4 measurements at 4 different locations, and the slack may be different at all these 4 locations. Use the smallest measurement. So it won't differ much, but it might differ a little bit. Okay, so let me go ahead and take these measurements right now. Okay, so I'm getting about 37 here. Let me rotate the wheel 90 degrees. About 35 millimeters. Let me rotate them another 90 degrees. Again 37, so that's good. And a final 90 degrees. Okay, 34 millimeters. So yeah, I'm going to use this as my chain slack measurement, 34 millimeters. So it's slightly out of spec. It should be 35 to 40 millimeters. So I'm going to have to add a little more slack to the chain. And then while I'm doing it, I'm also going to make sure the alignment's right. So the rear tire is properly aligned and facing front, not tilted a little bit. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, when you're taking these chain slack measurements, make sure your bike's in neutral gear, otherwise you'll notice that the chain will be too tight. Okay, so the basic principle is to add slack or remove slack from the chain. We just need to be able to move the wheel forward or back. So moving the wheel forward will add slack to the chain, i.e. make the chain a little looser. And moving the wheel back a little will remove slack, i.e. make the chain a little tighter. In order to move the wheel back and forth, we need to loosen the wheel axle, which is holding the wheel in place with the with the swing arm. And then there are these adjuster bolts on either side of the swing arm, so one here and one on this side. Tightening and loosening these adjuster bolts is what's going to push the wheel forward or pull the wheel back, depending on if you tighten the bolt or loosen the bolt. You're going to want to tighten and loosen these adjuster bolts equally on either side to keep the wheel alignment straight. If you tighten one side more than the other, then the wheel may not be aligned properly. It may tilt this way or tilt this way. For the Himalayan 450 motorcycle, to loosen the wheel axle on the right side, there's a 24 millimeter nut. So use a 24 millimeter socket and a nice big long socket wrench to crack this loose. And on the other side, to hold it in place, you're gonna need like a Tommy bar or a rod. Put it in this hole and hold this in place while you loosen the nut on the other side. And for the adjuster nuts, they're just 6 millimeter hex bolts. So use a 6 millimeter hex bit with a socket wrench. The tool set that comes with your bike, it has all the tools necessary to do this, but they're kind of small and it takes a lot of effort. So if you have proper tools like this, you know, it makes your job a lot easier. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I've cracked loose the wheel axle. However, you don't want it too loose because then the wheel will just naturally fall all the way back because of gravity. So I'm going to tighten it just a little bit so that the wheel will stay in place, but the adjuster bolts will be able to move the wheel forward and back. If it's too tight, then the adjuster bolts won't be able to move forward and back. So I like to use a torque wrench and then torque the wheel axle to about 15 Newton meters. So that's just tight enough, but not too tight. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so now the wheel won't move if there's no force applied to it. But if I tighten or loosen the adjuster bolts, they will move the wheel forward and back. And if I apply some gentle force using a mallet, for example, I can push the wheel forward. So in my case, I need to add some slack to the chain, so I need to move the wheel a little forward. And before I do that, I just want to show you this. The adjuster plates will have like some kind of ruler, and then the swing arm will have a marking. So just pay attention to where the adjuster location is in relation to this swing arm marking. And then on the right side, you'll have the exact same thing here. And ideally, this should be in the same location as this side as well. So the left and right should be the same location, which will make sure the wheel is aligned correctly or straight and not tilted to the right or tilted to the left. However, there's a much more accurate way of setting the wheel alignment. I'll show you that a little later. But let's go ahead and start by adding slack to the chain. So I need to push the wheel forward, as I mentioned. So what I did was take a 6 millimeter hex, go ahead and loosen these adjustables a little bit on the left side and on the right side. Okay, once that's done, I should be able to just push the wheel forward. Let me try that. If not, use a mallet. So yeah, you should have noticed the chain getting looser as I was pushing the wheel forward with the mallet. So there's now a lot more slack than I need, which is good. So the wheel is all the way forward, and you should, if you zoom in here, you can see that the axle is in all the way forward position in relation to the swing arm on both sides. So now I'm gonna have to start removing slack. I move the wheel back a little. So take your 6 millimeter hex bit, your socket wrench, and tighten the adjuster bolt on the left and equally on the right. And let's do it a little at a time, because even small adjustments will noticeably change the chain slack. So tightening it, i.e. turning it clockwise, will remove chain slack. So just pay attention to the chain and let's see if that tightens. So I'm going to turn it half a turn first. And you can see the chain moving. So maybe I'll do a quarter turn instead of half, because I think half might be too much. Okay, so with this adjustable turned a quarter turn on left and on the right side, go ahead and measure your chain slack, because you notice the chain did tighten up a little. So go ahead and measure your chain slack. I've already done that. It's still not in spec. It's still a little more than it should be. It's still more than 40 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is, again, tighten these adjustables a little at a time. So I'm going to do a quarter turn on the left, a quarter turn on the right, measure the chain slack again. And if it's still not in spec, again, repeat the process. A quarter turn on the left, a quarter turn on the right, tightening it, and then measure the slack again. And keep doing this until the chain slack is within spec. So keep tightening it little by little until the chain slack falls in the range of 35 to 40 millimeters. And once it's in that range, that's when you're done. So let me go ahead and do that until my chain slack is within spec. Okay, so I've adjusted my chain slack and got it within spec. So it's about 37, 38 millimeters. Also, when you're done, just make sure that this marking here on the swing arm, just keep a note of where it aligns with the adjuster plate on the left hand side, and this should be the same on the right hand side as well. So make sure that the marking on the swing arm, this dash right here, is at the same location in relation to the adjuster plate on the right hand side and on the left hand side, because that'll ensure that the wheel is aligned straight. However, there's a more accurate way of checking your wheel alignment. You'll need a special tool for that, so let me go ahead and bring that out. I think it is here. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, this is a chain alignment tool. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere, eBay or AliExpress or wherever. Just search for chain alignment tool, and I'll show you how to use this. In order to use this, I'm going to have to remove this upper chain guard, which is held together by this bolt here, and one bolt here. Okay, so I didn't have to remove the upper chain guard completely. I just needed to get this out of the way. And the chain alignment tool, actually, you just have to undo this screw and let it grip the sprocket. So this side, and the screw will grip the sprocket. Tighten that screw until it grips the sprocket, and then this metal rod on the chain alignment tool will point in the direction of the wheel and the sprocket. So if it is exactly in line with the chain, that means your wheel and your sprocket are aligned straight and your wheel alignment is perfect. If this rod is tilted to the right or tilted to the left and not in line with the chain, that means your wheel and your sprocket is also not straight. It's tilted to the left or right. So if that's the case, if your wheel is tilted to the left or right as indicated by this metal rod, then we need to adjust the alignment. And the way you do that is just by playing with the right hand side. Since you've already adjusted the chain slack to the right spec, you don't want to change the slack anymore. You just want to change the alignment. So just play with the right side. Again, make small adjustments a little bit, and then check your alignment if it's getting straight or not. And then once you're aligned, just by adjusting the right side, this is showing a perfect alignment. Then do one last chain slack measurement to make sure that your chain slack is still within spec, and then you're good to go. In my case, luckily, my chain and my wheel are perfectly aligned, so I don't have to make any alignment adjustments. So now my chain slack is perfect, my wheel alignment is perfect. So now I just need to tighten everything up. So I'm going to start by tightening up the wheel axle, and I'm going to get my torque wrench out. So set your torque wrench to 70 Newton meters, and let's torque up the wheel axle. Okay, now that's torqued to 70 Newton meters. Okay, last thing left to do is take your 6mm hex bit or Allen key and make sure these adjustables are snug and tight. Okay, left side done. Right side now. Okay. And that's how you measure and set your chain free play or slack, and also set your chain or wheel alignment. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Share this video with your friends as well. Until next time, it's your boy Easy signing out. Take care, guys.